All right. What is going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us again for another episode of the Double Feature podcast. Today, I am joined by Chris. We have been talking for almost half an hour before we even started recording, so you know this is going to be a great episode. Chris, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for inviting me to do this. I've been actively looking forward to this because of the movies that we're going to talk about. But also, um, holy hell, we haven't really gotten to chat like this.
I
At least
know.
just like the two of us. And we've been in group settings or in those hellholes that are like 10 people stream yards.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, this is gonna be rad. And like what you said, just by the last half hour, like we should have started 20 some minutes ago.
Yeah, 100%. We've definitely had those conversations where, like you said, it's like a hellhole of like 10 people on one screen, and we don't actually directly say words to each other. We just hear each other speaking words.
I hated those. And okay, I don't want to make it sound like I'm ungrateful. Like we were just talking about the pandemic and you being in Australia and me being in Chicago, like those StreamYards were like our only way to interact with people for a long time.
Yeah.
But now I will say no to streams if I know there's going to be more than 5 people. Like I would
Yeah.
just say like, "Hey, Jesse Swift, who's going to be on the stream?" Oh, names 5 people. Nope, I think I'll be good. I think I'm okay.
I'm totally the same way though, because I would reluctantly agree to those streams because I needed social interaction of some kind.
That
But
too.
having more than like 4 people on one stream stresses me out so badly.
There's too much going on.
There's too much going on. You're not actually getting to like have real conversations. It's just so much like technology is great and also evil. Like it's just,
Yeah. And
it's
again, like I don't want to make it sound like I'm ungrateful. I've spent hours and hours on the streamer. We're on a streamer right now. Not
yeah.
sponsored by the way. But we've been on StreamYards for the last 3 years, and the one thing I took away from it that was bad was that I hated the second there was a third row. If there was a third row in a StreamYard, there's too many people.
Yeah.
Like there's too many people on here. And not everyone's talking. There are people sitting there watching the screen, typing on their phone,
Yeah.
whatever the hell they're doing, eating, drinking. But it's cool.
Uh,
But I'm happy to be here chatting with you about movies
yes.
that we both adore.
Oh, I'm so excited to get into this. Speaking of which, I would
Mhm.
love if you would just kind of tell everybody, including me, because again, we
Mhm.
haven't really gotten to sit down and just chat. I
Yeah.
would love to hear about how you actually got into movies. If you're one of those people that's just it's kind of always been there, or if there was
Mhm.
like a trigger point in your life where you really started to get into them.
Yeah. Um, with me, I feel like movies were important to me from like really early on. Not because of the content of the movie, just because I grew up in a household full of single women, and my mom was not single woman. Well, yeah, single woman, but my mom was a single mom, so she spent a lot of time with me, and we would just watch movies. So I credit some of my favorite movies because my mom and I watched them a ton growing up, like Friday, Dumb and Dumber. I was way too young to be watching these movies, by the way. I was like 5 years old, 6 years old, and I'm listening to Harry and Lloyd do the stupidest shit on the
Yeah.
planet. Pardon my French, but um, we did a lot of those. And when I started getting into high school, that's when I started like to keep an eye out on what's coming out in the theater. And I went to the movies a ton. I'd leave school early to go watch Avengers Age of Ultron. Like I would do things like that. And the movies that we're going to talk about today, those were my gateway drugs into I love film. Like not everyone watches movies. Like I feel a lot of people say they love movies and that's great. Like I mean it's hard to avoid them. But I feel like especially the folks we surrounded ourselves with, we love movies. We're out here name dropping cinematographers
Yeah.
and distribution companies.
Yeah.
We're out here tweeting about the writers' strike that's currently happening as of this recording. But it's a whole like we out here we care way more than the average moviegoer.
I'm out here yelling at my TV for people like for a writer not winning an Oscar that like 5 people have heard of it.
Yeah, yeah. We're out here talking about like how did Suicide Squad win best makeup and costumes or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's like that's the type of thing that separates us from everybody else, us from our parents. You know, our
Yeah.
parents watch the Scorsese movie because it's Scorsese. You know, but us, we're like, oh, damn, Killers of the Flower Moon, like that movie's gonna be 3.5 hours long, and then I'm like, we're all, it'd be a whole thing. But I credit the movies that we're gonna talk about today for why I love movies the way I do, and the Avengers. That was one of my favorite movie going experiences because I didn't know what anything was in Marvel besides Spider Man, and I was one of those guys like, why isn't Spider Man in this? And I didn't know, but that opened the floodgates. I went down a Thanos wormhole. Like, who's the purple guy at the end of Avengers? That too. I credit that movie too. But yeah, everyone loves movies. We just love it a little bit differently.
That's definitely the perfect way to put that. I completely, I love that. I love the way that you said that. And I guess kind of going off of that, because we do love movies differently,
Hmm.
and a lot of times on a deeper, much more complicated level.
Yeah.
Is there something in particular about a movie that will catch your attention? Like some people are very much, oh, if it's a great script, I'll love the movie. If it has a great score, I'll love the movie.
Mhm.
Like not everyone that I've asked has had an answer for this question, but I'm wondering if you do.
Character driven movies are what keep me alive. I'm pretty sure. I care way too much, period. It's just about life. But I'm the guy that gets upset when his favorite character in a movie dies. Like, for whatever reason. I get overly attached to characters because either they're well written or they're just like, I think they're cool as hell. For example, Mad Max Fury Road, right? I fell in love with Furiosa and I fell in love with Max, even though Tom Hardy was grunting for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Like, I thought those characters were so cool, but a lot of that movie is just racing in dirt, you know, or in sand, looking for water. But I don't care what's happening around it. If I don't care about the characters, I'm not going to care about the movie. So when I talk about my favorite movies, I talk about why I mentioned Dumb and Dumber. I love Harry and I love Lloyd. Or in Friday, like I think Smokey is one of the funniest characters in movies, period. Like, and why, you know, Chris Tucker, like that was the movie where we were all like, oh, okay, Chris Tucker is going to be the shit. Again, can I cuss on this? I already,
Yeah, yeah, that's
okay,
fine.
I've already said the shit word twice. But if I don't care about the characters, I'm not gonna care about the movie. But there are exceptions, of course, but that's it. It's the characters and if I love them or not. 'Cause if I don't, what the hell am I doing? Why am I spending 2.5 hours watching a movie?
Yeah. No, that's definitely something important for me as well. Like I will get so attached to a character and I will be like I'll sit there and I'll be fuming at the end of the movie because of
Mhm.
whether like if the character wasn't, it was underutilized or I felt like a decision was made that I didn't feel like went with their arc or whatever. Like I'll sit there and I'll
Yeah.
be like, I know it's a movie, but I'm furious right now. Or I know it's a movie, but I'm crushed. Like they're just moments. And
Mhm.
this is really controversial, but I'm gonna bring it up just
Uh-oh.
because whatever. Like if
Uh-oh.
people don't like it, I don't know what to say. I was crushed at the end of The Rise of Skywalker. I was crushed. I was
About what?
crushed. One, because Rey is not a Skywalker, and that's disgusting to
Oh,
do that to
yes.
her.
Mhm.
To just be like, we're gonna stitch a legacy name onto her after spending 2 movies saying you don't have to be anybody to be important, and then all of a sudden she has to be a legacy character to be important. That
Okay.
crushed me. Like, I was so attached to a character who could just be nobody and didn't have to come from something, and then all of a sudden it was like, "No, your found family is the Skywalkers." Bitch, absolutely not. Her found family was Finn and Rose and all these just like ragtag little group of people. But that kind of stuff like sits with me. Like it really left a sour taste in my mouth for the character, and now it's hard for me to feel the same way that I used to. Like I'll have moments
Mhm.
like that where everyone else is like, yeah, it was a movie. Like there are things I didn't like, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna need time. I'm gonna need 5 to 7 business days to deal with how I feel about this.
I And in regards to Rise of Skywalker, I was crushed when that movie ended because that's what we got to finish the Skywalker saga.
Yeah.
'Cause that movie sucks.
No, it was bad. For a lot of reasons, it was bad. I
like,
could go on a rant
ugh,
about that. I've literally, after that movie, we a bunch of us sat down and recorded a podcast that's like 3 hours long, just talking about why we were crushed. And I won't get into it because I'll go on a tangent and I'll just talk about it. And enough people like I try not to talk about Star Wars online anymore, just
yeah, valid.
because just it's so divisive and so just I spent way too many years already like getting into fights with people about Star Wars online.
Same.
But just as an example, like that's kind of one of my examples where I'm like, man, the way I feel about that character changed so fast just with how attached I get
Right.
to characters.
Mhm.
Um, and and I think kind of what you said, it has to do with the fact that I care so much, too
Mhm.
much about everything, especially when it comes to movies.
The idea of like this what was I gonna say? Oh, I was talking about this with my roommate. Because he's a big movie guy too, but not to the extent that he's not out here, naming all these writers, and like he has no idea the writer strike is even happening, right?
Right.
And he won't know until his favorite show gets canceled because no one's writing it, right? But
Yeah.
with movies that are mean to their characters, all right? I will be the first to call out a movie if I think a story choice was mean to a certain character. And I can't name one off the top
Yeah.
of my head, but a lot of horror movies do that where they put people in it just and they're going to die, right? Just
Yeah.
like and sometimes their death is a little exaggerated or it's a bit much and it's like that's mean and unnecessary, or
Yeah.
there are character choices in things that aren't horror. Again, I can't name one off the top of my head right now, but I hate it when scripts are mean to their characters, and like what you said, it bothers me. And the Ray thing, I don't mind the Ray Skywalker thing. I do mind the whole "you're a Palpatine."
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
hated that. That was dumb as hell. But amongst other things, Rise of Skywalker. Funny enough, you say you did a podcast. I did a podcast after that, but it wasn't a podcast. It was at a booth at a Steak and Shake in Southern Indiana. That's right. We talked for 3 hours about Rise of Skywalker afterwards, but that's besides the point. But movie characters are why I go. It's not, you can do a Star Wars thing, but I'm not going to love it just because it's Star Wars. I
Yeah.
need to give a shit about these characters, like The Mandalorian, right? I don't care that it's about the quest, spoiler alert, that's about them trying to, regrow Mandalore from the ground up. That I don't care about that. Who I care about are Din Djarin, Grogu, Bo-Katan, etc., etc. Like
Yeah.
that's why I watch. I don't care about Mandalore. I care that they give a shit about Mandalore. That's what I like.
Yeah.
But it's bigger than just the plot. Or I don't go to a movie for the director, or I don't go to a movie for who wrote it. If it's a sequel for something, I don't. If I like the characters, I will stick around, and if I don't, then just count me out.
Yeah. That's completely fair. Um, in terms of I guess we can just kind of switch gears in terms of actually kind of getting into what we're going to talk about.
Mhm.
What are you a double feature person? I think that's where we should start. Like, are you someone who sits down and actually has the intent to watch a double feature? Have you ever been like that?
I mean, I have done it, but typically, if I do, it'll be for franchises. I think the last time I
Okay.
did it, and I might be wrong, my letterbox might prove me otherwise. But I want to say I did it for Austin Powers last. I watched the three Austin Powers movies for no reason, just because. And I put on International Man of Mystery. I was like, ah, screw it, let's watch Spy Who Shagged Me. And then the next morning or later that night, I started Gold Member. Like I'll do that, but for me, especially nowadays, it takes a lot for me to sit for like a 4 or 5 hour stretch of time. That's why I don't like long movies, but that's a different conversation. Um, but the idea of double features, I'm not opposed to them. But for something like this, when you reached out and you said, "Oh, Chris, we're gonna do double features," I'm like, "What's the best double feature I can think of things
Yeah.
that I would love to sit down?" And if you told me, "Chris, we're gonna watch this and this," I would pounce at it. Like, "Oh, hell yes, that's great." Um, but the last, you didn't ask this, but I'll tell you anyway. The last double feature that I proposed to someone, it's probably the worst thing I've ever recommended to someone. I pride myself on good recommendations. I tell people all the time, I don't recommend bad shit. I don't. I pride myself on it until I was on a date with this girl, and she wanted to watch a movie. So we went back to my apartment and we're sitting on my couch and like, you know what? Let's watch a horror movie. It was October. Like, let's watch a horror movie. We watched Scream. She had never seen it before. And I'm
Oh
like,
wow.
oh, okay. So let's watch Scream. Cool, 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 cool. And then the mistake I made was directly after, she was like, oh, let's watch another one. I hit her with because Scream's my favorite horror movie of all time. I hit her with my second favorite horror movie of all time, Evil Dead 2.
Oh.
Like
Oh.
that. Needless to say, it didn't work out with this person I was dating. But because I love Evil Dead 2. I think it's perfect how it stands. But I didn't realize, Chris, not everyone's gonna like this weird stuff.
Yeah.
Because Evil Dead is weird as hell.
Yeah.
And there's the deadites are crazy, the stop motion that they did, and Bruce Campbell just going crazy for 2 hours. Like I'm like, this is a bad idea. And yeah, it didn't work out. But it gave me an excuse to watch Evil Dead 2 again, and I have no regrets.
I
But
mean,
that
yeah.
was that was I'll acknowledge it was a bad idea, but damn,
So
I thought it was a good one.
so outside of something being a part of a franchise or like a big IP, what do you
Mhm.
think makes a good double feature?
Um, I mean, it's gonna vary from person to person, but for me, it's what makes a good double feature is, you know, how much you, or if you're gonna bring other people into it, like the level of enjoyment, how much fun you're gonna have, or like the feeling that you're gonna feel with this. Like the two I chose today, um, I think they're two fun movies in their own right, but they're also very similar in themes of love and um, art over anything else. Like I related to those movies, to the two movies I chose. I don't know. I'm acting like if it's a secret. They're in the title of this thing, but
No,
it's
you can get into it if you want. You can start getting into it.
why I chose La La Land and Sing Street are because, like, to me they give me the same feeling, and it's two drastically different movies, but they really aren't at the same time. Like, while one is about like essentially brotherly love or familial love with a little romantic side plot, but or main plot, depends how you look at it. But La La Land, again, it's two people who love one another, but are they going to prioritize their love for each other or their art? And it's kind of the same thing in like the whole art aspect of Sing Street. Like, I think those two movies complement each other well. Plus, they both came out in 2016. I thought that was fun. But when watching a double feature, it's more so like how you and your party, whatever, however many people there are, how you want to assess that and what feeling you're trying to convey. Because I mean, you don't want to get crazy like what I did and do Scream and Evil Dead 2. Like, those are not the same kind of movie. And that, again, bad idea on my part. But there are folks that might, do Lord of the Rings, or they might do Fast and Furious, whatever the hell. Or two comedies that they might dig, two movies that, like Step Brothers and The Other Guys, two Will Ferrell flicks. An idea for someone who's listening and Taylor might reach out to and say, what are two good movies for double feature? I think those would be great too, off the top of the dome. But things
Yeah.
like that. But these two movies, La La Land and Sing Street, they make me feel a similar feeling. And I know we were discussing before we started recording that you love these movies too. And I know you asked me these questions, but I want to ask you, um, if you think these movies complement each other well.
Yeah, I think they do. For a lot of reasons. I think it is interesting that they did come out in the same year,
Hmm.
which is really fascinating when you think of the public reception of both of the movies and how they couldn't be more kind of polar opposite of each other,
Yeah.
with how similar movies they really are. I think for me, I talked about this a lot on the first episode we recorded because it was another kind of music double feature. But as much as I love movies, music was always my first love in life. It still is. And so for me, musicals, when they're done well, are a really big thing. Anything that has music that's really good is really going to connect with me. And both of these movies, um, as movies themselves, are devastating, but the music in them really hits me hard.
Yeah.
And that's just a big thing for me. So I think they really paired together well in that sense. Um, and I think the way that they both deal with not just art over love, because they both deal with those very well, but the way that it gives weight to those situations where it's not just like kind of this flippant choice. It's like, no, this is going to devastate you, but this is a choice you
Hmm.
have to make.
Yes.
And it's really going to have this profound effect on you, whichever path you choose. And you do have to choose, which I
Yeah.
think is such a fascinating thing. As much as I love movies where you kind of get your happy ending and you kind of get an escape and you kind of get to have both, these movies really hit me because it's like for personal reasons, it hit me where there are times in life when you don't get both and you have to choose one of those things and you have to be prepared to deal with whatever choice you're making. And La La Land in particular is really hard hitting because it shows you the alternate version of the path you didn't take. And that kills me every single time.
I recommended La La Land to a friend of mine a few months ago, and I remember I was standing in line to get into the club on a Saturday night. She called me and she said, "Chris, again, pardon my language, fuck you, Chris. I will never watch this movie again. I hate you." And I said, "You loved it, didn't you? It's great. It's great, ain't it?" And she's like, "Yes, it's so good." And she's crying and crying and crying. But the epilogue, like what you said, and them showing us the version we all wanted. Because like
Yeah.
let's be honest. To those listening who love La La Land, and the two of us here, I'm pretty sure I can speak for you, Taylor. We were rooting for Mia and Sebastian like it was nobody's business.
Yep.
Like they were perfect for one another. They're soulmates, and it's great, right? And it's beautiful. And when the time jump happens, when Damien Chazelle hits us with that 5 years later thing towards the end of the movie, and Mia walks into her house, and there's their daughter, and this random ass man.
Mm.
The rage that I
Yep.
felt within my body, because I went through the 5 stages of grief in about 10 minutes,
Yep.
and and I was so upset and so mad. And when they go to the club, and he named it Sebs, and there he is, and they look at each other, and there's the whole epilogue, them dancing at the planetarium thing, and that messes me up. Which, by the way, I'll say this now: watch La La Land first in this double feature, please,
Yeah.
please,
Yeah.
and then watch Sing Street. I'm glad you mentioned the original music, because that's another thing why I love these movies. Like you, I love original music in movies. It's my one of my favorite things in movies, where there's original music and it's good. The soundtracks for these were on repeat, and they still are, frankly,
Yep.
7 years later. And I have a playlist on my Spotify of songs from soundtracks, whether it's movies or theater or television, whatever. It's flooded with a lot of La La Land and To Find You, Beautiful Sea, Drive It Like You Stole It, like Riddle of the Model. Like there's like it's flooded with stuff like that. And I constantly am recommending both of those movies, La La Land and Sing Street, not only because the music's great, but they're both beautifully told,
Yeah.
and they're both incredibly well done, and they're two, and thematically they're different, or the settings are different. Sing Street's 1980s Ireland, and La La Land is modern day Hollywood, and it's so nah. Like,
Yeah.
I'm so scatterbrained because I'm like, I want to talk about this, I want to talk about this, but I love both of these movies, and I think they complement each other well. But you have to watch La La Land first. You have to, for the sake of your own sanity. If you care about characters or love, and like I'm a sucker for romance in movies,
Yep.
if you are just like me in that sense, and you watch Sing Street first of this double feature, you're gonna like it. You're gonna shit, you might love it, but you are not ready for La La Land and how it's gonna leave you feeling. Like that's the whole thing.
Depending on how you wanna feel at the end of this double feature, if you wanna just
Right.
be crushed and you just wanna cry, save La La Land for last.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, like it's if you want that misery or that helplessness and the feeling of like trust me, we all wanted Mia to get up from her seat at the club and just run white right into I can't talk now. Run right into Sebastian's arms. Like if you're gonna fight it like how we were trying to fight it, then I'm sorry. But to all the fans of La La Land, we hear you, we're with you. But for the
Yes.
love of God, watch something after.
Ye
Like
yeah,
anything. I recommend Sing Street, but anything. Iron
yeah,
Man, watch Cocktail, anything.
yeah.
Like just
Like, put on Top Gun: Maverick and just,
boom. Yes.
like, I
Any
yeah.
like it's La La Land. Um, just to pick one. La La Land to me is a perfect movie. Like I think as it stands, I would change nothing about it. I would add nothing to it. And as much as I've been talking, as much as we've been talking about how sad we feel at the end of the movie, I kind of like that it's not a happy ending
Yeah,
for us, the viewer,
yeah,
because obviously they both got their happy endings.
yeah,
Sebastian got his club and it's awesome and it's popping, and Mia got the family and her career, her acting career. It's awesome, but we wanted them together,
yeah,
and we wanted the epilogue. That's what we wanted, and like what you said, they showed it to us, and that's the killer. That's the toughie part of all that. But damn, it's so damn good. Just technically how it's
yeah,
made. Like that movie made Damien Chazelle my favorite working director.
yeah,
Like it wasn't like Whiplash is fine. Like it's I say it's fine. It's good, right? And his stuff after La La Land's great, but La La Land, it's it's everything. It's everything movies should be
yeah,
to me.
yeah. I think technically on every level it succeeds in what it's trying to do, and, it I don't think it really gets talked about a lot just because I don't think musicals get talked about as much as they should just in general. But before La La Land, like, when was the last time we had a big movie musical like that, that had the dance numbers and that had the big music and that had, the costuming and had the big epic sweeping love story that we all just sat there and went, "Oh my god."
And
Like
that was original.
yeah,
It wasn't based off of something off Broadway, or it wasn't a Disney remake of an animated classic. It was original, and it's like what I said, perfect as it stands. Like like what I was talking about at the beginning. Like we all love movies. Everyone loves movies. But La La Land's what unlocked that feeling for me of I want to know everything about this movie. I want to see the alternate version of this where they cast Miles Teller and Emma Watson,
yeah,
and I want to know how that goes and how it's inferior to the one that we got.
yeah, right. Listen, as much as I love Emma, the other Emma, and
Yes.
as much as I put up with Miles Teller, um,
He's gonna talk with Maverick. You just
I know
mentioned
no, no, he's a great actor, I just have a I have a personal vendetta, it's the whole thing.
it's the Bud Light
Um,
commercial, isn't it? It went on for a little too long. Like that.
how dare he be cute and relationshipy and yeah, anyway, that's a whole other tangent conversation we could go off on. But as much as that would have been really interesting because I think Miles Teller is a great actor, and I think Damien Chazelle and him clearly work very well together.
Mhm.
And I think that version of the movie would have been interesting, but I
Yes.
do think the versions of the characters we would have gotten would have been very different because Emma
Ooh.
Stone and Emma Watson are not putting on the same character of Mia.
Yep.
And we're definitely not getting the same character out of Ryan Gosling and Miles Teller. Like, I just feel like the vibe of the love story would have been very different.
Yeah, no, yeah, 1000%. Like Ryan Gosling, especially at the time, because 2016 is that the same year that The Nice Guys came out?
I think it is.
Like that, another incredibly slept on movie that only I feel like cinephiles have watched,
I know.
and
It hurts me.
right, and I tell my roommate all the time, like, you gotta watch The Nice Guys. Like that movie's a comedy, and Ryan Gosling is comedic in that
Yeah.
movie,
Yep.
but it's besides the point. But Ryan Gosling to me, yeah, he had done Drive and what's that movie called? Place Beyond the Pines, whatever.
Yeah.
Like he'd done that stuff, and that's great. But when he caught my eye was this. I had no prior feelings about Ryan Gosling, but I was also the guy that was shitty at the 2017 Oscars when he didn't win Best Actor. Like
Yeah.
and again, I forget who won that year. But it wasn't Ryan Gosling, so I don't care.
Fair.
The um,
Valid.
yeah, but Emma Stone, like Emma Stone's so good, and I feel like when her career's done, we're gonna look back and say like we didn't appreciate her as much as we should have, and performances like Mia are Exhibit A, and that's where I get lost in the sauce. Where, oh yeah, Miles Teller and Emma Stone were considered, or they were up for the parts, or whatever. I don't know if they were exactly offered or whatever, but the movie that we got again, and Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone, they had worked with each other before, and they already had a bunch of chemistry, and it just worked. It
Ugh. Do you know
I'm
who
a
he lost to? And it's good. I wiped this from my memory because it
oh
makes me so
god.
angry. He lost
Uh,
to fucking Casey Affleck.
oh, Manchester by the Sea.
Yeah. Yeah.
That hurts my face.
Which wasn't even like the third best performance that year because if Ryan Gosling wasn't gonna get it, Andrew Garfield and Hacksaw Ridge wrecked me. So like
Oh,
why did we give
ooh,
like what are we doing?
that's a good
Anyway.
one. Is that the
Anyway.
same year that Bradley Cooper was up for A Star Is Born?
No, so it was Denzel for Fences,
Oh, no, it
um,
was 2017 as that movie came
Vigo
out.
for Captain Fantastic, and then those three.
Yeah, sure.
Anyway.
Manchester by
Anyway.
the Sea. Yeah, I don't want to talk about that depressing ass movie.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to bet that Michelle Williams was underpaid for it, but that's besides the point. And it's a conversation that we are not going to have.
Yeah.
But even though we should,
We
still,
should. We
unfortunately, we
might just one
still
of these days you and I might just sit down and have a 6-hour podcast where we're just like, all right, everything we need to talk about just
just just laid out, and how Michelle Williams, we, how do you feel about The Greatest Showman? Can I ask?
I fucking love The Greatest Showman. I
Okay,
know that's
great.
not a popular opinion to have, but I fucking love that movie.
Greatest Showman, bad biopic, horrendous biopic,
Oh yeah, but I'm not
incredible
there for the
musical.
biopic. No, but listen, who's actually going into that going, "Oh, I really wanted this to be a true to life," but shut the fuck up. You have Hugh Jackman in a musical. What the hell is wrong with you?
This is not accurate to the P.T. Barnum story. Who gives a shit? A Million Dreams is a beautiful song,
Oh,
but again,
do you know how many times I sit there and just listen to that soundtrack? Like, come on.
I listened to that one and the reimagined one, but
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
remixes with the other ones.
Yeah.
Um, God, that's so
I
good.
know.
The
I
Pink
know.
one made a radio.
I
That's
know.
what weirded me out.
I know.
Um,
Do you know how often it plays over here?
Still,
Do you know how popular Pink is in Australia?
oh Pink. Oh,
Like they adore her here. Like they love she sells out shows here all of the time. Like the okay, so we have this is a little tangent, but I don't fucking care.
oh
Um
please.
the so I there we have our main like stadium that's like made for concerts
Okay.
so it's called Brisbane Entertainment Center. There's we have our big stadiums and stuff like for football and everything that the bigger artists will go to.
Mhm.
But there's a smaller one that most recently I was out to see My Chem. And it's the Brisbane Entertainment Center. The women's bathroom literally has like painted like pictures of pink like in it.
Seriously?
Yeah, yeah, I'm not
Like
kidding.
murals of
Yeah,
pink?
yeah. For sure. Yeah, 100%. Like it is such a vibe. It's
Like,
like
I mean, but I'm having a hard time besides Greatest Showman songs. I'm having a hard time of naming Pink songs. I know like the Raise Your Glass. I know the One Last Kiss one. That's a hit. But Pink in Australia, I would have
oh,
never
they
thought.
they they adore her here.
If
It's so
you
funny.
could have given me 15 guesses of like Chris, who do you think is one of the biggest female artists of the last 20 years in Australia? Go, and I would rattle through the ones that you would think I would, but then I wouldn't even get to Pink. I
I
would
know.
guess like
I get
Alanis
it.
Morissette
Yeah.
before Pink.
Yeah. And I love Pink. I grew up like in the era where her and Avril Lavigne and like, I had that whole thing going on. Like, so I know a lot of her music. But when I got here and that was I walked into the Brisbane Entertainment Center bathroom and I was like, what do we have going on here? And then Jacob
you
had to
were
explain to me how big of a thing she is here.
you were taken aback by like I love Pink, but not like this.
But
Like
this is a whole
I want to walk into the bathroom and her look me in the eye as I'm about to go pee.
anyway, I just like yeah, that's it's still something that I just find so funny and so interesting.
Cause
But
like again, I'm in Chicago. Like I don't want to walk into the bathroom and chance the rappers on the wall. Like I don't want. It's like no, please, can we not?
but
Uh,
anyway, everyone go watch The Greatest Showman because it's so underappreciated. We could literally just spend this whole episode talking about musical movies that are underappreciated. It feels like that's what's
yes.
happening.
And I swear to God, I will never forgive Fox. I think it was Fox that made that movie. Why the hell make it a P.T. Barnum thing? Just make it about a circus guy.
I know, right?
Like, why
Like,
attach
why
P.T.
try to
Barnum's name
make
to it?
it like a real like why does it need to be tied to a historical like
Right. And like
nobody cares about that. Nobody cares.
exactly. No, who gives a shit about P.T. Barnum? I guarantee I can step out into my apartment, ask my roommate who he thinks P.T. Barnum is, and he would have to sit there and think about it before he can be
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, it's the circus guy.
See, but that's the thing though. Like, and this is another tangent, but whatever. This episode is just gonna go off the rails, and I don't care.
We're here.
We're here. It's happening. But but that's the other thing though. Like the people who are running these studios are clearly so far removed from what people actually want to see in movies. Where like, you know what people want? They want a Hugh Jackman P.T. Barnum movie. They don't care about the musical aspect. They want people are gonna get in seats for the P.T. Barnum part.
Mhm. And guess what?
Like,
The damn movie fell out of the top 5 in the box office. I want to say in the first few weeks or like in the first couple months, but the soundtrack stayed on for like a year or some
yeah.
obscene number
Yeah,
that
and
a
then it got
soundtrack
the
nowadays will never
reimagined
do.
version. And then it got the whole reimagined version where you had all these crazy artists doing the whole set. Like, come on.
It's weird that and again going back to La La Land, like La La Land was big, but I guarantee if we were to go to the year of our Lord 2017 and we were to ask about musicals, either The Greatest Showman or La La Land, more people would have thoughts on the Greatest Showman compared to La La Land. Even though La La Land was this Academy Award winning film, it was this big budget movie musical with two, at least I think, A-list at the time, especially A-list actors, and it's it's everything movies were. And Damien Chazelle, it was his love letter to cinema, right? And a year later, the movie about P.T. Barnum whipping tigers and keeping all these animals entrapped. Fox is like, you know what? Let's do that, but we'll put Wolverine on the poster, and we'll get Zendaya because she's going to be a thing. We'll get the High School Musical boy, and we'll call it. And again, speaking of underappreciated, Michelle Williams is right there.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think that's why I brought this up because we're talking about Michelle Williams. But yes, like the whole idea of movie musicals, and I know they're a hard sell nowadays, but La La Land is a different kind of musical than what Sing Street is, because Sing
Yeah.
Street, the songs just it's about a band like performing the songs, and it's not like characters bursting in the song and dance. And
Yeah.
it's because that's what people think when they think musical. They think that it's going to be, Grease, something, or Hairspray or something like
Yeah.
that, where the characters are singing about their struggles in their daily lives. Sing Street's not that. Sing Street, it's a boy who starts a band to impress a girl and to rebel against his Catholic high or his Catholic middle school.
Yeah.
Like that is the movie that I signed up for, and it's stunning and it's beautiful and in a different way than what La La Land is. And again,
Yeah.
like there, it's these similar themes or these similar not premises, but they feel the same and they have the same emphasis on like what you said at the top, choosing love or your art or love. You can only have one. And in Sing Street's case, it's like brotherly love, but it's still the process of letting go.
Yeah.
And more so for Jack Rayner's character. Jack Rayner, talk about underrated.
Oh
Holy
God.
shit!
Yeah.
Like he's so good in that movie, and he's barely in it. It's like Mahershala Ali in Moonlight. Dude's in it for like 5 minutes, but damn, he makes it worth it every time he's
Yeah.
on screen. And I think it's a crime that American cinema has not made Jack Rayner a bigger name. Like I guarantee I said that name, and people listening to this are like, "Who is that guy? Let me go look up who is Jack Rayner and what's he been doing." That's a great question because frankly, neither do I. But it's it's still beautiful and incredibly well done. And why am I? Is it John Carney, the director? Like I was unfamiliar with his work. Like he did like Begin Again and Once. I was unfamiliar with those, but having to go back, and that's just that guy's mo.
Yeah.
The feel like it's comforting in the way the worlds
Yeah.
that he establishes. And Sing Street, while yeah, I know it's a turnoff. It's about a teenage boy at a Catholic school or at a religious school. Um, it's so sweet and rad as hell, and it just makes your boy feel a certain way talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it's interesting because so these movies give me very similar and very different feelings because La La Land I watch and I feel on a personal level where it's like as someone who loves art and wants to be an artist, a creative, like who wants to be in that world, you watch that movie and you go, it's showing you the romanticized parts of it and it's showing you the awful parts of it. It's showing you the highs and the lows, and you're kind of on this roller coaster of, in the end, ultimately, the characters, we see them get the happy ending, but we also see them dealing with, right person, wrong time. We
Mhm.
see them dealing with their struggles of like having to make these choices, whether they keep going or whether they give up or what. Like, there's just so much packed in there for someone like me to look at and go, this is making me way too emotional and way too existential, and this is a bad idea. Like, all of this is a bad idea. And then you watch Sing Street, and I think for another reason, like you said, it's more of a familial thing and it's dealing with those relationships that you don't get to choose. It doesn't matter if it's right place, right time. It doesn't matter if, and like none of that is up to you. And it's something that you're confronted with, and it's something that you have to figure out how to navigate, especially as a kid, especially as someone who doesn't have the choice of just being like, I'm 20 or whatever, so I can leave and I can go find my own path and I can always come back later and figure this out. It's no, this is very immediately what you have to deal with. And as someone who grew up with a very complicated family life, like that really hit me of this, you just have to figure out how to make it work and how to deal with it. And then you have to go to school and figure out how to make that work and how to deal with it at the same time when that's probably the last thing that you want to do. And then bringing, the Catholicism into it and bringing that whole very strict, stringent, very confining kind of atmosphere, um, which I kind of have a little bit of experience with, not so much, but I think having that and then using music as a way to rebel is so punk rock and it's so perfect and it's such a great narrative for that story, especially during that time. because I feel like we don't quite get punk rock the same way anymore. It kind of died off a little bit after the
It's not as
2000s.
like it's now in 2023 we don't embrace punk as rebelling. It's more so like folks are like that's how they grew up, and now they're finding it like, yo, that's just who I am. Like that's
Yeah,
just what I like.
yeah,
And it's way more accepted now. But in 1984, whenever that movie's takes place in, like it's especially in the setting, like that's
yeah,
the like holy hell, what are you doing?
yeah,
Like you're going to hell. What's wrong with you? And as
yeah,
someone who did go to Catholic school, who wore a uniform from ages 5 to 18, going to school every day, it was super rad at the time seeing and again like I'm gonna just do like a whole like info dump. I love the 80s. It's my favorite decade of things. I have a Back to the Future poster on my wall for those who are not, I mean, no one's gonna see this. For those who are listening, a Back to the Future poster on my wall. It's to me it's the best decade, like music, movies, um pop culture just is the shit. Don't ask me about what's happening in the real world. I know what happened in the 80s. But like, I think the 80s are great. And what Connor, the main character of the movie, what he finds himself. The sense of the coming of age genre is one of my favorites. And I think Sing Street to me is one of the epitomes of those. Like there are other movies that came out around that time that give me a similar feeling, but Sing Street just emphasizes that. And like you, where the movie resonated with you in that sense, or in the familial sense, like what Connor was doing to rebel, the little things, fixing his hair, how he wore a dress to school, like doing all the little things like that. It made me want to be like him. Granted, I was already out of Catholic school by that point, but I'm like, damn, I wanted to be just like Connor. If I can go back and redo it, that's how I would do it. And it's the relatability of these characters, them talking about the music of the 80s. When I first watched this in 2016, um, what his brother Brendan was talking about, all the music I didn't really know at the time, but now I listen to Duran Duran because of this movie. So
yeah,
like 80s new wave, that's like my jam now. And when I rewatched this not too long ago, and who did he dunk on? He dunked on oh my god, I forget the artist, but it was someone that I listened to all the time. It wasn't like Oingo Boingo or anything, but it was oh my god, who am I? It's gonna eat me alive. I'm gonna have to figure it out. But um, it's funny now. Like I listen to a lot of that kind of music because of this movie, and that's just one of my many takeaways. And the idea of him and his brother, like Brendan and Connor, are such a like their relationship is the only healthy one in the house because their sister is just there. The mom and dad are splitting up. They're sleeping in separate beds or separate rooms. It's uh it's not good, and they established that from the beginning. And that Connor, everything he knows is because of his brother, and the why his music sounds the way it does is because of the music his brother showed him. And it's like, and it was just damn, like I was the only child for the first like 15 years of my life until my brother was born. And in hindsight, I'm like, damn, maybe it's why it hit me so hard, because like that relationship, I think we all strive for our siblings to be like that for us, or vice versa.
yeah,
Like to take away from one another and to take things and be like one another. And like it's so heartwarming and sweet, especially in the context where his brother's like, you know what? You do the thing I always wanted to do. I'm stuck here.
yeah,
You can still go and follow your dreams and be the musician, take the demo overseas or across the lake, across the ocean, whatever, across the
yeah,
aisle, and just go get a record deal. Do it for me because I know I can't do it. Like that it resonated with me. And here I am 7 years later. Like I it eats me alive knowing that the movie had to end like that. But again, that's what we took away from it. That's the whole idea of it, and it was beautifully told. And like the whole romantic side thing, why Connor started the band for Rafina, and it's great and all, but that's the relationship that we take away, is the one with Brendan and Connor. And trust me, that was all of our introduction to Lucy Boynton, before she popped up in Bohemian Rhapsody like 2 years later. But damn, it it also crushes me with the with Brendan looking out at while Connor's on the boat, and he's just like, yeah, like he's all like it's so bittersweet.
Yeah.
That's the word to sum these movies up. They're
Yeah.
bittersweet. And I mean, La La Land's a way more bitter ending,
Yeah. Yeah.
but Sing Street is where it's a little bit lighter. The music's a little more fun, depending on like how you want to view it. But it's they're just so damn good. And to me, back to back, that's how if I would watch them both again, that's how I would watch them, because they give me similar feelings, as I've long-windedly have said in the last half hour.
Okay, so I'm gonna complicate this for you.
Oh God.
And I
Okay.
need you to tell me the order that you watch this in if we turn this into the triple feature that we talked about before we started recording.
Oh no. So, context. I don't want to take away from Jacob, because Jacob, great picker, by the way. Jacob's a great picker. He chose Tick Tick Boom and Inside by Bo Burnham.
Yeah.
And two other movies adjacent that are similar vein as this. Like the
Yeah.
bittersweet, more so
Yeah.
Tick Tick Boom. But I'm assuming you're asking me about
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. So if you turn
Uh,
this into a triple feature where you just wanna be so emotionally wrecked, where you watch those 3 movies, what
I
order do you watch them in?
I think I would. Oh man, because oh damn it. Talk about bittersweet with the end of
Yeah.
Tick Tick Boom. By the way, we're almost an hour in. Spoilers
Yeah.
for everything.
Yeah.
Um, I think I would sandwich Tick Tick Boom in between La La Land and Sing Street.
Okay.
I think that's how I would do it, because there's still a sense of lightheartedness to the end of Tick Tick Boom. How
Yeah.
we got there is holy, oh my god. But like the actions are louder than words song at the end of Tick Tick Boom. It While I have tears running down my face, there is a little bit of a smile, fully, especially
Yeah.
knowing the legacy of Jonathan Larson and how beautifully made that movie was. But I think I would sandwich it in between La La Land and Sing Street. Have there be like a gradual, like uplifting, like and plus I think Tick Tick Boom, if I were to put it in front of La La Land, I'd also have to put Sing Street in front of La La Land, and I don't want to end on La La Land. I really don't. So Tick Tick Boom is the happy medium. I want to end with Sing Street. I really do.
Okay, that's
'Cause I
fair.
think that's the best ending of the bunch.
I think the interesting thing too about if you were to sandwich Tick Tick Boom in the middle is that Tick Tick Boom is almost a hybrid of both, where you get him on stage performing, but then you also get the actual musical numbers where he's like in the library, or like you get both. You get the stage
Mhm.
performances and then you get the big kind of diner musical numbers as well.
And again, shout out to Lin-Manuel Miranda. He directed the hell out of that movie.
Oh
Um,
god,
I
yeah.
I talk about perfect flicks. That's another one. And Taylor kept mentioning that we were talking for like half an hour before we started. That's one of the many things. And I envy Jacob. How dare you ask Jacob before you ask me what movies I wanted? Because I would have totally picked Tick Tick Boom. Inside, I didn't think we'd be able to pick Inside, but again, Jacob beat me to it. But the two that I chose, La La Land and Sing Street, and it's a fun way of saying it. It's like a hybrid of the two, because I would put all three of those in the same boat for me. No pun intended. Like I really would include the three of them in my little box of Chris can only watch these when he needs inspiration and needs to give himself a good cry. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
because all three of these movies are very.
You can't just casually throw these movies on. You can't do it.
If you ever hear me say, "Hey, I watched La La Land yesterday," why? Just because something's wrong with me. Like something is wrong. I'm not feeling well.
If
Sing
I see you
Street.
post on Twitter being like, "I just watched La La Land," I'm gonna be like, "Chris, do you need to talk?"
Yeah, like, do you need to talk to someone? Because when I last time I watched La La Land was a couple months ago, and I just hadn't. It was after my friend had watched it, and she was like, "Hey, I like Chris, I hate you," and I decided, let me refresh my memory. And that's where I was like, oh yeah, this movie messes me up, and I want to say I watched like Emperor's New Groove after that, just to wash away
Yeah.
the sense of dread I was feeling. And we keep talking about La La Land as if it's this miserable movie.
No,
It's not
it's
at
not.
all.
It's so fun, actually. It's a fun
Yeah,
movie. It's funny and it has a lot of like really like colorful, like bright, fun moments. But just watching it as a creative and as like a hopeless romantic and as someone who cares too much about everything all the time, it's just so much. It is a lot of an experience.
you see, you're speaking my language, right? Like as we're two folks who like we want to pursue art in whatever medium that art may be in. And you say hopeless romantic. See, I like that. Like a lot of folks say hopeless romantic. I like to say romantically hopeless.
That's
So
fair.
it's like it's that, and the idea of like this movie is just it is comical. There are genuinely funny beats in this, and the chemistry that Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone have is almost second to none, at least in the last few years. Like I would love to debate someone, another duo that has better chemistry, and they aren't together. They
Yeah.
aren't married or dating or dated or whatever. Like
Yeah.
I would stack them because I watched Crazy Stupid Love for the first time a few months ago,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
I knew they were both in it. I didn't know anything about the movie. No spoilers, but there's a very Shyamalan esque twist
Yeah.
that
It's one of the
rocked
best twists of all time.
it rocked my socks off. But like that again, their chemistry there in that movie, like the little that at the time that they share, it's it's you can tell that
Yeah.
La La Land was coming. A movie like that was coming between the two of them.
Yeah.
Like it's so real. It felt, and as exaggerated as it is, like the whole planetarium sequence, right?
Yeah.
As exaggerated as all that is, they're dancing on the stars, and it's it, fe- they're on like wires, and it's
Yeah.
great. And there's a silhouette dancing and stuff, but I love the scenes of the two of them just talking, like when Sebastian goes out on tour and he comes back for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And I love that beat of them just two struggling artists. And Mia has to, go to an audition that she's probably not gonna get. And Sebastian has to, he's playing piano at a restaurant trying to play his songs, but he keeps getting told by J.K. Simmons out of nowhere that he needs to play Christmas songs. Like the little stuff makes
Yeah.
me feel like, okay, there's still a chance for someone
Yeah.
like me, where it's, you're eating, you're clawing your way towards this bigger goal, but at the sacrifice of what?
Yeah.
That again, that's the thing with this one in Sing Street. You want something bigger, and it's obtainable. And how they're going about it, it's obtainable. What are you willing to give up to take that extra step? And
Yeah.
in the movie, we see that. When John Legend again randomly shows up, and he's not bad in this movie. He's not great. He's essentially playing scum John Legend,
Yeah.
but
Basically.
when he gives Sebastian the opportunity to go on tour and he does it, we already see that what their life's like when Mia's stuck in LA in her one woman show that no one goes to, and that part sucks too.
Yeah.
When
Yep.
Sebastian doesn't show. Like it's things like that, like we see that, but really the gut punch is towards it's the last 15 minutes of the movie. But it's the sacrifices that are made, and Tick Tick Boom, again, I don't want to take from Jacob Shine. because again, great picker, damn it. Tick Tick Boom has the same thing. Like it's like we see Jonathan's sacrifice his relationships, not even just the romantic ones. His friendships are gone too,
Yeah.
and the time that he's lost in the meantime, like it's heartbreaking and it's crushing, but it's what he had to do to achieve what he had been working towards, in doing his shows and inevitably, becoming the Jonathan Larson that wrote Rent and or that yeah he wrote the lyrics for Rent, created Rent, all that fun stuff. But it sucks.
Yeah.
But for people like us who want to achieve a certain thing, it's just like, da, like what the hell?
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking, but also it's hopeful and I said inspirational earlier. Like I really do view these movies like that, where like yeah I'm a sucker for romance and all that shit, but these movies give me hope. Like they're like it's like the Superman's S. When you see that, it stands for hope. That's what La La Land is for me. That's what Sing Street, Tick Tick Boom, and movies like that.
Yeah.
And I love that you called this too, making this Tick Tick Boom Part Two, and I love
Yeah.
this. But that's why I bundle those movies together. Like it's to me, it's perfect movies, and the sacrifice that both movies show and the love, whether it's romantic or familial, like it's like they're stunning, and I regret nothing in making people cry watching these movies back to back, or if you include Tick Tick Boom, back to back to back. Like they're great.
Yeah.
They're so good. Like damn.
Yeah. No, it's, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to experience emotionally. Um, and it's like, I'm glad that we're having this conversation because to me, I can talk La La Land and Tick Tick Boom and Sing Street with pretty much anyone because I can just talk about those movies.
Mhm.
But to talk with somebody who clearly like gets it, because either you get it or you don't. You watch
Right.
those movies and you either get it or you're like, oh yeah, all right.
Right. Right.
Like, and I fall into the camp of no, I get it and I get it too much and like I don't really want to get it. Like this is it's a personal attack on me and now I have to deal with it.
Now, do I wish that like there's a part of me that's like, I wish I didn't give that much of a shit because
Yeah.
these movies wreck me.
Yeah.
And we keep mentioning three, but I guarantee Taylor can come up with a list, and so can I, of similar movies that wreck us but make us feel a certain way, and then make us really
Yeah.
appreciate what they are and the people that make them. But La La Land and Sing Street are two flicks that I found when I needed them before I even knew what those feelings were, like because I went into college. 2016 is the year I went into college, and I didn't go to college for film. I went for media, so kind of film adjacent, but I had no aspirations of making movies. And in a way, I still don't, question mark. But it's the creative aspect of it, and you mentioned it earlier. Like as a creative, like these movies are essentially geared towards people like us. And when I see La La Land love on my Twitter feed, whether it's coming from you or Scott Mance or anybody else, it makes me feel like, damn, like, okay, I'm like, I get that person. I get it. Like, I understand. Or the even fewer people that acknowledge Sing Street. I know we were talking about it off or before we started recording. I think friend of the program, friend of both of ours, Allison Salamoni,
Yeah.
she recently tweeted something about how "Drive It Like You Stole It" wasn't nominated for Best Original Song at the Oscars, which I think
Crime.
still,
International crime.
as someone who wanted one of the La La Land songs to win, which I think City Stars inevitably did,
Yeah.
I think we could give one of the La La Land Oscars to Sing Street. I would give like whatever press La La Land got after the Oscar incident happened. If I could give that press to Sing Street, I would in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
just so more people know about this movie.
Yeah.
Because the title is like the title Sing Street. It's like, what the hell is that? Like, no, like Sing's the name of the school.
Yeah.
And that's why they call it Sing Street. Like it's a
Yeah.
whole thing. And it's
They
a
just did a
band.
horrible job marketing that film. I don't know what the hell
Right.
happened, but
Like
that
I
was
don't it's heartbreaking. And to this day, it's incredibly hard to find. Maybe people just haven't heard of it. But I adore these movies, and La La Land did get a bunch of press. I know the Oscars definitely helped with that whole fiasco, which I still
yeah,
kind of think is staged.
but then it got a lot of weird backlash, like, it became Moonlight versus La La Land, and it
Why can't
became,
we
like, this
have both?
like, why do we need to do a versus thing? Like, what? They're
And
to they're 2 totally different movies. Like,
yes,
what?
and as a black man, like I felt like folks like were looking at me like, "Oh, Chris, like you must also love Moonlight." I liked Moonlight. I didn't watch Moonlight until after the Oscars that year,
Yeah,
and I watched it. I'm like, "This is really good," but it ain't no La La Land to me. But I
yeah,
know again, like movies are subjective, and I understand what Moonlight and its what it means to the LGBTQ plus community and the lack of representation in multiple facets at the
yeah,
Oscars, whether it be sexual orientation or race. It's that Moonlight means a ton.
yeah,
But to me, La La Land was just a better made movie. Um, like themes aside, I just think La La Land's prettier to look at, and it makes me feel a little bit different. But Moonlight, it was like what you said. It was pick one. Why
yeah.
can't I have both?
Like,
Like
and it
I
was
don't.
really awkward too. This is probably a really online thing to say and a really online perspective to have because people outside of Twitter probably don't care that much about any of this in terms of the framing of this conversation because it felt
Mhm.
very online when it was pitting them against each other.
Yeah,
But like when that was happening, I was sitting there going, this La La Land crushed me. It reached into my soul and like looked me in the eye and was like, this is what you need right now, specifically, like to see as a movie. And I was sitting there like having this moment with it. And then people online were like, well, if you like La La Land and not Moonlight, then it's like, it almost like was like, you're like anti LGBTQ or anti
yeah. It's
like,
like you're
like it just
homophobic if
made
you
me
don't like
feel
Moonlight. It's
it
like
made me
what?
feel like when I was saying I like La La Land more, I was sitting there going, am I like, are people gonna look at me as a white woman who people perceive as straight? Like, are they gonna look at me and be like, am I gonna be branded as a certain thing? Like for like it
Right.
turned into this whole thing.
It's like Taylor's racist and homophobic because she prefers La La Land over Moonlight. That's not like like trust me. If you really want gross internet opinions, you don't have to look too hard.
No.
They're there, especially about
People
both these
very
movies.
proudly proclaim them. You don't have to go searching.
Right, right. I guarantee, like, especially with that new Twitter stuff where they just give
Yeah.
you like, "Hey, you might like this," and it's a
Yeah.
bunch of gross shit. It's like, I don't
Yeah.
like this. Why are you
Yeah.
showing me? But it was the whole like you had to pick one, and admittedly, I fell into that where it was like, "Oh, you're making me pick one? La La Land, kill me
Yeah.
if I pick La La Land, right?"
Yeah.
And maybe that's what helped grow my passion for this movie. But to this day, like, why do we have to have that discussion of like it's either one or the other? But that's what, and I'm in the camp that thinks it was that was on purpose.
Yeah.
They gave Warren Beatty the wrong envelope on purpose
Yeah.
because that drum up so much controversy.
Yeah.
Because the Oscars, God knows they need it because they are like there's going to be an Oscar ceremony after they hit 100 that it might just go to streaming, might just be
Yeah.
on Netflix or Disney Plus or whatever, which is unfortunate because I mean the both of us think of the Oscars so damn highly because of the circles that we choose to be around. But it's this whole idea that like why do we have to pick one that bothers me to this day? Like I just don't get it. It pisses me off still just thinking about it.
Yeah.
Like it's but also I'm more shitty that Sing Street got no love. I'm
Yeah. I
shittier
know.
at that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, like, and again, it's like, I just, if you weren't going to acknowledge that film in any other category, I don't understand how best song wasn't a thing. Like, it makes no sense to me. It's not like that year was so stacked that you couldn't give it one nomination.
I don't even want to look at the nominees. I
I don't either.
remember City of Stars and Audition were both nominated for from La La Land, but
Yeah.
because I remember the discourse going up to that movie was, oh, it's gonna split the vote,
Yeah.
and it definitely didn't do that unless folks were just overwhelmingly pro La La Land. But again, like folks went into that
Ugh.
Oscars like, oh God, I don't like that. Ugh.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to know what the nominations were.
You know what? For the entertainment
So,
value, please read off the nominees for that year's Oscars and Best Original
okay.
Song.
All right. So we had the ones we mentioned, which were City of Stars and Audition.
Of course, great songs, both of them.
We had um How Far I'll Go,
Oh, Moana. Okay, yeah,
Moana.
yeah. That's a goodie.
We had Can't Stop the Feeling,
Oh, and the troll song.
the Troll song.
Of course.
And then The Empty Chair by Sting and J. Ralph. I don't know what that is. I'm a fraud. I don't know what that's from.
I remember that being a thing, but what the hell?
So Sing Street apparently couldn't find space amongst that.
I get why you put the
So
Disney song there. I get why, especially that was like Lynn's. Speaking of Lin-Manuel Miranda, that was his like, oh, I can write movie songs too,
yeah,
and like he did Moana, and Moana's a banger. Like I can sit here for another hour talking about Moana and why remaking it so soon is a bad idea, but the Trolls thing, I get it. You know what that Trolls nomination gave us? Gave us that fun open to the
yeah,
Oscars where Justin
yeah,
Timberlake was there and he was doing the whole thing. Because again, the Oscars needed that. They still
yeah.
need it, to be honest. Maybe they should just invite Timberlake every year. But the Sting inclusion, I can't tell you what that is.
So
Granted,
apparently it's from a documentary or something. I don't know.
uh, uh,
Yeah. Um,
cool.
yeah.
Great. I'm glad
Yeah.
that the doc
Great.
got some love at the
Yeah.
Oscars.
But
Because there are other important things, Chris, about the Oscars, not just Sing Street being snubbed. But the Sing Street exclusion still pisses me off, and it didn't help. Like what you said, movies bad promo.
yeah.
It didn't help that either. And I know it's not the Oscars' job to promote these movies, but damn it, like that's that soundtrack for just Sing Street alone. I listed off the songs earlier. They're all hits.
Yeah.
You want your new wave stuff? Great. There it is. You want your guitar ballads with To Find You or you want your piano ballads? Great. It's right there.
Yeah.
And no, nothing. Nothing. And then there's people like us, like cuz I feel like there's only 5 diehard Sing Street fans in the world, and
Yeah.
almost half of them are talking
And
about the movie
I was gonna
now.
say, and we know the other like 2 of them. We might
Right?
know the other 3, honestly.
Like there's at some point in the next couple months there will be a Sing Street group chat of approximately 10 people from all over the globe who love that movie. But maybe it's because we although you're in Australia, you're like we're both from the States, and we're
Yeah.
like, ooh, Ireland new wave, yeah, great. And maybe that's it, but I'll be damned. I'll die on the hill for this movie. I would erase other movies from history if it means we get to keep Sing Street. Like especially the last decade, my God. Like there are so many other flicks that deserve that I wish Sing Street got the same recognition, if not even more so
Yeah.
recognition. But
Yeah.
damn it. What the hell's the empty chair? Who cares? I guarantee Sting performed at the Oscars. You get that
Probably.
demo of the guy from the police. I just really called Sting the guy from the police. Like you get Sting to perform at your Oscars. That's great, but no, you know how
Yeah.
fun it would have been.
You sound like me when you go on rants where I sit there and I'm like, oh, this freaking guy, and I'm talking about like a music icon, but I'm so mad that I'm just like, oh, he's just whatever.
Like, yeah, like the group, that group of guys from England, the Beatles, yeah, those
Yeah,
guys,
just
you know,
fucking
like,
those guys.
like who gives a shit about the Beatles? Literally everyone. Um,
Literally everyone in history. And I'm
but
sitting here going, yeah, but like,
like,
come on.
yeah, for real. Speaking of the Beatles, and movie musicals? Question mark. Yesterday.
Still haven't seen Yesterday.
Oh, you haven't seen it.
No, I
If
missed
only we
that
had.
one.
If only we knew someone that had a podcast of movies they've never seen.
I know.
Like
Weird.
I. Yesterday, I would love to know your thoughts on Yesterday
Oh,
because the
okay.
ending is so wow, and
Really?
it's literally like I love it, I love it, I love it. Oh,
Oh God.
and
Okay.
I didn't like it at first, and in hindsight, I'm like that bangs.
Okay. Right. All right. I'll have to check it out because now I'm fascinated.
Yeah, it's super. I don't want to go into it, but
Okay.
it made me a fan of Himesh Patel, the
Oh, he's
lead of
great.
that movie. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
And Lily James, who I also think is great.
She's always great. My goodness.
Yeah, and literally everything is super rad. But that and what was the other thing I was going to go? I just wanted to mention Yesterday for the sake of yesterday. But
That's fair.
these movies, right? To go back to the reason why we're here. Again, like they're two drastically different flicks, and one got all this promo, partially because or mostly because of a controversy that may or may not be staged at the
Yeah.
Oscars, and the other one got little to none. And I kind of, and again, I would take away some of that La La Land press if I can give it to Sing Street because it's still underappreciated, and it's not this big budget, big studio movie. And John Carney's made a career of doing movies like that, like these feel good, bittersweet esque movies.
Like, listen, the first time I watched Once, I was done. I was wrecked. Like, have you watched Once yet?
No, I haven't. I
Oh,
watched Begin Again,
oh,
but I have not seen Once yet.
oh, you got to add it to the list because that's the music in it is really, really good. But it's a bit of a heartbreaker. It's yeah, I that's another one where I'll have the soundtrack on and I'll just listen to the music because it's so good. It's so pretty. Like, yeah. Anyway,
The
that
Well, because I mean, I from what I've gathered about Once, like again, it's a similar feel
yeah,
as Begin Again and as Sing Street, and it's like just that style, that feeling of a movie. Like again, talk about the what we look for in movies. Like I like that. I like the comfort. Like yeah, Sing Street, it's kind of sad in a way, you know, and especially with the Rafina character, Lucy Boynton's character in Sing Street. That's very sad. Like she's in a home for girls, and she keeps trying to she like has this boyfriend when we first meet her who is the worst. Tries to run away with him, ends up back at the home for girls, and you know it's this like she's not even the lead. We barely get any type of info or any time with her, just her. But through Connor, like we look at her through his eyes, and that's where I'm like, damn, now I care because I care so much about this kid who wants to impress this girl with a band, and now here I am caring about this girl who who really should not like.
yeah.
I shouldn't like Rafina, but I do because I know Connor likes her.
See, I feel like you would like. I feel like if you watch Once, I feel like I'll be on the end of the one where you like text me and you're like, "Fuck you, I hate you." Like, like. So
Oh,
first of all, it bangs because it's set in Dublin. Like it's another Irish, like Ireland kind of vibe to it, which is great. But it's another like doomed love story.
Oh,
just hold
see,
your
and
new hair.
that'll oh
And
my
it's
god.
yeah, like it's
I'm adding it to my list as we speak.
I need to know. I'll watch yesterday and you watch once, and we need to trade notes because I need to know how you feel about this movie.
Oh, it's on Hulu and it's only an hour 25? You're trying to
Yeah,
kill me?
I
It's gonna rip me apart in 90 minutes?
yes, it's very compact destruction that's
Oh
happening.
no, this is gonna mess me up. Are you telling me like see, it's always the movies that aren't long, you know, like
Yeah,
they get straight to the point. What was
yeah.
the movie recently that I watched and I'm like, why did I watch this? I'm not gonna go through my letterbox because that's lame, at least at this moment. But the I watched a movie recently where it wasn't that long, and I want to say I put in my letterbox review, oh my god, I can never watch this again. Like it was just like there are few movies where I'm like, damn, that really messes me up. And yes, the three that we've mentioned primarily, like La La Land, Sing Street, Tick Tick Boom, like those three are in that grouping of yeah, they mess me up, but they make me feel alive in a way.
Yeah.
It's like if I ever feel like if I ever look like I'm comatose, like just pop on the epilogue, pop on me and Sebastian's theme from La La Land, it'll wake me up.
Yeah.
Like I'll feel like I'm back, and I don't know about you. I feel like everyone experiences this. I'll put my Spotify on shuffle, like all my like songs on shuffle, and I'll be
Yep.
out with people, and I'll be driving around, and I'll go like through all my songs, and then I'll hear like the little piano of the main theme from La La Land, and it's the initial embarrassment, but then I'm like, oh my god, I gotta change this because I will listen to this whole thing and it's gonna tear me apart from the inside, and I don't want to cry right now.
Yeah.
Like that, the City of Stars beat, the even like Start a Fire was cool. I
Yes. I unironically love that song.
we talked about the Oscars and how dare I not mention this. That year's Oscars. So I was fully prepared for Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling to do City of Stars.
Yeah.
And I was super giddy, and then I found out, or they announced on the broadcast, that John Legend was going to perform a medley of songs from
Yeah.
La La Land, and I was a little bit skeptical. Love John Legend,
Yeah.
love John Legend, but I'm like, that's not what I want.
Yeah.
To this day, I am incredibly bitter that they took the studio recording off of streaming for me. At least if it's there, I can't find it. And I listen to the live version that someone uploaded on SoundCloud
Oh my God.
because I think it's that wonderful of a mashup of Audition and City of Stars. And I vividly remember the camera panning to Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone, and they're both like overjoyed that John just crushed that performance. And me at home, I guarantee or my dorm in college, I was like, oh my God, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen on television.
Yeah.
Like I'm overtly, as you can probably tell, I'm overtly passionate about the things that I like. And if I sound dramatic in this, it's because I am, for
Yeah.
those wondering.
Yep. Literally that's literally me. Like I'll get passionate about something and then like I on Twitter now, like if anything happens in the world that a certain actors are involved with, I will have like six people tag me. They'll be like they'll like make sure I know about it and I'm like, "Guys, am I like that just like am I that bad where people just know that they need to tag me in certain things?"
It's because they know you dig it. That's why. Like, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I've made a life of being the Scooby Doo guy over here. Like, I at work. This happened recently. Um, Someone mentioned Scooby Doo to me, and huge mistake on their part because I went on I went I went on to ask one of my editors. I said, favorite Scooby Doo villain, go. Him, he didn't know what the hell any of those he can name any of them. He oh, this was the context. It was because him and his fiance they dressed as Scooby Doo villains for Halloween like a year or two ago. And I said, "Oh, that's cute. Who's your favorite Scooby-Doo villain?"
No, no.
And he's I didn't even try to be that guy either of like, "Oh, you like that thing? Like, oh, you like the Beatles? Name 5 Beatles albums." I wasn't even trying to be like that guy either. But he couldn't, it was just a part of a costume. I felt like a jerk. But I said, it's okay. Correct answer is Captain Cutler. But I understand. But I'm the guy that if you get me talking about Scooby Doo, like I did this recently. I mentioned a scene from Scooby Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed. The scene was they're at the old clubhouse
Yeah.
and it's the montage, and Shaggy's like, "Oh look, Scoob, they're having a montage in there." Like it's like the whole thing.
Yeah.
And when Matthew Lillard notices Captain Cutler in the lake, and he goes, "Captain Cutler's ghost," under his breath. I went on for at least 5 minutes describing the scenes as they happened in the movie.
Oh my god.
And my friend I was with, she was like, "Chris, I've seen this movie before. You know that, right?" And I was like, "Oh my god, like that's like I just do. I didn't even know I was doing it." So it's okay to be that person. And I see you like what's it call it? You when the Barbie trailer dropped, like
Yeah.
you and you and Lauren Swift, shout out.
Yeah.
Like y'all were my go-to Barbie aficionados, and Jesse by proxy. But both of y'all were spamming my Twitter with Barbie, and I was like, "Damn, I haven't seen that before." Like, "Damn, that's new." Like, it's a whole thing. But that's just how we rock. That's how people know we give a shit. If
Yeah.
we're not being annoying about it, then what the hell? I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll do something like that on Twitter and I'll be like, "Oh god." Like it'll be like 10 minutes after the fact. I'm like, all the people I follow are gonna be like, "What the fuck is happening?"
It's like something's going on, and Taylor's spamming tweets at 2 a.m. Central Time. Like
Like
it's
here's the thing. Like I expose myself constantly. Like if there's something I'm obsessed with, everyone that follows me is going to know about it. I have zero chill. Like I will retweet 20 things in a row and like it's just I can't be stopped. And then I'll
yo.
go back and be like, "What did I just do?"
If you ever hear from me, or if you hear me talking about somebody else, like, damn, why is that person being so overly passionate about the things they like? Again, who the hell am I to talk? Like, and to everyone listening to this, Taylor had no idea that I was gonna bring this unhinged uh, like, passion to this. Like, folks that know me, they know I can talk forever and ever. But you get me talking about the things that I like or love, even. Oh shit, huge mistake. I've had people invited me on to things, and I've been told like, "Chris, you talk a lot." It's like, then why do you invite me to do stuff?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm sorry.
You're like, "Isn't
Um,
that why you invited me? Am I supposed to come here and talk about stuff?"
like you want me to dial it back? Because I'll dial it back. Odds are you won't like it because I'm gonna
Yeah.
be a jerk about it. But it's
No, like, and I said this before we started recording. I would rather have like a 6 hour podcast where whoever I have on, we're just vibing and talking and it's just a whole thing than have to sit there and try to like pull stuff out of someone. Like when
sure,
I
yeah.
invite people onto a show, like I want them to come in passionate talking about the things they want to talk about. Like I don't want to have
Mhm.
to sit here and force someone to talk about something.
Yeah,
Um because that's just like what fun are either of us having if I have to sit there and be like, "So,
right.
we've been talking for 10 minutes. What else do you want to say?"
I'm a big reciprocating energies guy, just in my daily life, and like when I invite people on the pods and they invite me on, like I'm super happy to be there, like how I am right now. And again, thank you.
Yeah, of
Um,
course.
but it's the I'm not gonna do too much if it's not invited. Like,
Yeah.
especially if you invite me to talk about things that I like. I was telling you about my buddies out in Scotland. It's a pro wrestling podcast, and they invite me out now. They invite me on fully knowing what they're getting, and they'll purposely invite me to like debate shows, fully knowing I'm going to be hot the second I get in there. and it's a whole thing. And in hindsight, I get embarrassed by it, but in the moment, holy hell. So when you get me talking about La La Land, when you get me talking about Sing Street, like it's or and by proxy Tick Tick Boom, like it'll be like those are some of my favorite movies of the last decade, and probably top 15 in La La Land's case, and Sing Street, maybe Tick Tick Boom, like top 10 of all time.
Yeah.
Like, these are some of my favorite movies ever. And if we ran with my plan B, which I told you about reserve,
Yeah.
in case anybody wants to take those, or if you give me the pleasure of inviting me back on, maybe we'll do those. But if I ran my plan B, I think it'd be the same thing,
Yeah.
just a whole different conversation. And it's a again, it's two movies I adore, three movies I adore
Yeah.
that make me feel alive. They make me feel like holy shit, it's an active experience watching them, where you're enthralled in it. It's not like putting on action movie number two and you just
Yeah.
turn your brain off for 2 hours. No, it's not it. I'm engaged in every moment of these, and I'll be damned if it's too much. Then if it's too much and I don't want to be enough, I don't know. I don't know how to word that. If it's too much, I'm sorry, but that's what happens.
Yeah.
Guilty is charged.
Yeah. I mean, I like I said, I totally get that. I'm right there with you with all of that. Um, I that's like just the kind of energy I have about things that I love, and it's taken me a while. Like when I was younger, I was really like held back on that stuff. But as I've gotten older, I'm like, I don't care. People can think I'm unhinged. It
Mhm.
is what it is. Like it's whatever.
I was talking about that recently, like the idea of like when I go out on on dates or I meet people for the first time, I like hold back because in the back of my head I know if they bring up, I don't know what's another thing, Winnie the Pooh, right? It's like, oh, you're gonna unlock this thing you have no idea, and why talk about movies that break me? If they even mention the Tigger movie, it's game over. Like I will sit there and tell you like, "Oh my god, the Tigger movie crushed me as a child." I experienced real heartbreak at 7 years old, because the wonderful thing about Tiggers is that there's only one of them, and when Tigger found that out, it was the most upsetting thing on the planet.
Yeah.
But again,
No.
that's
I
besides the point.
no, I listen, I have movies like that too, where it's just someone would be like, "Oh," just casually mention the movie, I'd be like, "You don't wanna go there. You don't know what you're getting
It's
into.
like, take it
You
back.
you've no idea what you're about to walk into."
It's like,
But,
I'll give you the out now. It's like, you want to talk about, I don't know, uh, Raiders of the Lost Ark? Take it back before we talk about why it's the best action movie ever made. Like things like that. But
yeah.
these
Yeah.
flicks, movies are fun. They should make you feel something.
That's my biggest thing about movies, just in general. I don't necessarily have to love them, because I won't love every movie, that's just how it's going to work, but I need a movie to make me feel something. If I leave a movie and I go, "Yeah, it was fine, it didn't really do anything for me either way," that's, like, the worst offense. Like, I need to be provoked to feel something,
Right,
like,
right,
anything.
right. And to go full circle, I find that in the characters. Like it's not you can make the most interesting plot ever. If I don't care who's doing said action, then what the hell? What am I doing?
Yeah.
Like it's like we're wasting each other's time. Like it's a whole, and maybe it's just us, or maybe we're in the minority, but it's not what's happening to me, it's who's doing it. And it's
Yeah.
this, and I think these movies are the epitome of that, where like you fall in love with the leads, and you feel for them in their situation. And because like I mean, let's be real, in Sing Street, if you boil it down, it's a boy starts a band, to get a girl, and he wants to be famous.
Yeah.
But when you add all these different elements to it and the performances and all the like, it's great. It's and to me, to us, it's perfect. But movies got to make you feel something, and those movies make me feel more than others.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know if I mean, we could probably talk about these movies for another like 3 hours, but I feel like we should probably wrap at some
Yes.
point.
It's we'll do part
Just
2 at a later date.
we will do another round at some point because we just will. Like that's just going to happen. Um but is there anything else that you just want to say about either of these movies or any movies? Just like, is there anything you want to say to wrap this up? Like, ball is in your court for your
Oh
final
man.
thoughts here.
Um La La Land's overhated.
True.
Sing Street is underappreciated. And if you're one of those folks who look at La La Land a certain way in a negative light, just give it another shot. And maybe it's viewing it through our eyes that'll help. Then great. If you still don't like it, I don't know what to do. But let's have a discussion if you don't like La La Land. But
Yeah.
and go actively find Sing Street and watch it. Like if you folks who haven't seen it, I know I spoiled the hell out of it. But if you have watched it, watch it again. Like and tell people about it. Like it's like we mentioned our buddy Allison's tweet. I was so happy. I was elated to see a Sing Street tweet on my Twitter feed.
Yeah.
Because again, it made me go out and listen to Drive It Like You Stole It.
Yep.
Because that would have crushed at that year's Oscars. But who am I? But La La Land overhated, Sing Street underappreciated.
Perfect way to sum that up. I completely agree. We will both continue on our crusade to get more people to watch both of them, as we have been doing. I feel like it's a worthy cause. Um, Before we completely wrap up, I would love if you would let everyone know where they can find you online and what you've got going on and all that
Yeah.
good stuff.
So, what am I doing? So you can follow me on Twitter at the letter C Anthony Lopez. I share everything I do on there. So if I'm popping up on someone's stream or if I did something fun, I will put it on there. You can follow me on Instagram with the letter C underscore Anthony Lopez. And I'm primarily nowadays, I'm on the Flick and Reel YouTube channel. I guarantee you've heard of that before on this show. It's a good group of folks over there, so you can't mind Taylor for asking us to come do stuff. But you'll see my face on there, doing a bunch of streams, reactions, just general discussion. They've been super kind to me since I joined up with the channel, and I think we do some pretty good stuff. Not to pat ourselves on the back too hard, but Flick and Reel, FLICK dash the letter N dash REEL. We're on YouTube. Give us a subscribe, like the videos, comment on them, and follow me on Twitter. I share everything I do on there. Like when this goes up, it'll be on my Twitter feed. So that at the letter C, Anthony Lopez. And Taylor, thank you. This is so rad. This is so cool. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so glad that we were able to find time to do this. It was
Mhm.
so fun. Two of my favorite movies. I will never complain about getting to talk about those. As Chris has said, you guys who have listened to all these episodes will be very familiar and will continue to be very familiar with the Flick and Reel crew. They just kind of hang out around here, and I love that.
We're down.
And they're just going to keep coming back. For those of you who've listened to all the episodes, had Allison on episode 1. She will be coming back very soon to do another episode. So everyone get ready for that. Thank you to everyone so much who has listened and who continues to listen. You guys know you can all find me pretty much everywhere at Finally Tailored. That's Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Letterboxd, YouTube, just all. If it exists online, I'm probably there, to be honest. And as you all know, we do have the other podcast that I do with Jacob and our friend Elena. We do the Lights on a Screen podcast every week where we talk about new releases. So please go check that out if you haven't already. I'm not sure what we're going to be talking about by the time this episode is released. So you'll just have to check it out and figure it out, because unfortunately, even though I'm technically living in the future in Australia, I can't tell you what's going to be happening at that point. I don't have that kind of power. Things would be so much easier if I did. Thank you guys again for listening, and we will see you next time.